Hello. I forgot what to say for a second there, so oh my goodness. Hello, happy July. We are more than halfway through the year now, which is ridiculous to even think about. It feels like it was just Christmas. Like, what do you mean it's the 4th of July? Which, by the way, if you hear fireworks outside, I'm hoping that my microphone will prevent that, just like my AC is going, and I'm hoping that the microphone will prevent that. Don't be like me and forget to turn your microphone on, like my last video that I did. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Anyway, I have seen the mid-year book freakout tag going on BookTube, and let me tell you, I love to listen to people yap about books, in case that wasn't obvious by my entire channel and me just yapping about books. Anyway, yeah, so it has been my favorite thing to watch people talk about the books they've read so far and the books that they've enjoyed and their disappointments and all the nitty gritty of the books that they've read. And I want to participate because call me a girl's girl. I want to be part of the group. Anyway, I want to give credit to whoever created this tag because I have no idea who the original creators are. I have seen multiple people make this video at this point. So credit to whoever created it, credit to all the people who are making videos, credit to everyone else who's giving me the idea that I can literally just copy and do the same thing. Anywho, I'm going to get started. I have the prompts on my phone because who remembers these things offhand? But okay, the first question or the first prompt, and I will put them on the screen and I will put them in the description in case you want to make this video as well, or just leave a comment with your answers to these. Yeah, the first prompt is, what is the best book you have read so far? I think the best book that I've read so far in 2025 has to be, take a hint, Dani Brown. First of all, I think Dani is my favorite of the three Brown sisters, not just because she is a queer bisexual black woman, because same. So this book follows Dani Brown, who is one of the Brown sisters. I don't know if she's the middle or the oldest, but she just got out of a relationship or a situationship or whatever. She doesn't want to think about getting into another relationship. She manifests and prays that the universe would send her the perfect friends with benefits situation. Instead, the universe sends her Zafir, who is a security guard at the company that she works at, or the school. I think she's like a grad assistant working on her PhD program, something like that. Anyway, Zaf is a security guard. They're friends. He knows her coffee order. They talk to each other every day. The banter is bantering. The flirting is flirting. One day their building is doing some sort of drill. I don't even remember what it was at this point, but Dani didn't know that. And she gets stuck in the elevator. Zaf freaks out and is like, oh my goodness, where's Dani? Finds her, swoops her out of the elevator, quite literally, I mean, scoops her up and walks out. Someone catches it on video and posts it on the internet. He's a former rugby player, so they get hashtagged Dr. Rugby, and it is the cutest thing ever. So now everyone assumes they're dating, so they enter a fake dating arrangement. I'm gonna leave it at that because everything else is like, this book, I give it 5 stars. This is my favorite in the trilogy, like I said, and Dani is like my favorite woman. One, she's in grad school / working on her PhD / whatever she's doing, and same, I'm about to start grad school to, you know, we don't have to talk about that. She is a queer black woman, same. But no, she's just so funny, so smart, so brilliant. She knows what she wants. She goes after what she wants. And I love that. I want to be Danica Brown when I grow up. And I'm almost 30. I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, I'm going to stop yapping about this book because favorite book that I've read so far has to be Take a Hint, Dani Brown. I have read the rest of the trilogy, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown was hilarious. Get a Life, Chloe Brown was also hilarious. Like, I love that dynamic between the siblings and their little love interests in each of the books. But Talia Hibbert writes really good books. Like, she wrote YA, which I loved, and adult, because these are very spicy books, which I also loved, and I can't wait to read everything this woman has ever written. Yeah, that is the end of book 1. I can stop yapping now. The next prompt is best sequel you've read so far. This probably doesn't count. Okay, so this literally says the prequel to, but I'm gonna count it because, listen, I read They Both Die at the End in 2024. Loved that book, by the way. It pissed me off. I was very upset at the ending, even though it literally tells you, but I'm still upset. And I had to read this book because I was like, what? Let me learn of the origin story. Anyway, so this book, basically, it's technically book 2, but it's the prequel to it. This book follows Orion and Valentino on the very, very first night that Death casts, this organization that, you know, through whatever will predict and tell people who is going to die within the next 24 hours, basically. So starting at midnight, the organization Deathcast is calling people left and right all over the world and letting them know that they are gonna die. So this book is the very first day of Deathcasts, like, kind of coming to life, you know, everyone kind of seeing, you know, what is gonna happen and how accurate it is, and, like, you know, people are like, that's a lie, it's never gonna happen, and then, you know. But this book is basically the origin story of Deathcast and the very first day that it starts. And Orion is, I don't remember how old they are, but they're teenagers, like maybe mid to late teenage years. So Orion is sick and he's got this heart condition. He is very certain that he's going to be the first one to die. He's very certain that Deathcast is going to call him. He's not like, he's like, I'm going to be sad but not surprised type of vibe. And he meets Valentino, who is a young model, just moved quite literally from, shut up fireworks, just moved quite literally from Arizona to New York. He's got all these things in the works, and it's just like they meet and it's fantastic, very sweet connection right away, and you know, whatever. Deathcast calls one of these boys, and basically they go about the next 24 hours kind of just like, if it happens, it happens. And it's just such a sad but such a heartwarming story. And I am still very upset, even though I knew exactly how it was going to end. Like, it is not a spoiler. Someone does die at the end, by the way. Not a spoiler. So don't be surprised. But it's just like, it takes you on a journey that you just never want to stop. I love two queer boys just being like their cutesy little queer selves. And oh. Anyway, I'm going to stop yapping now. But the first day at the end, I think this was the best, technically prequel, but I'm going to call it as answering this prompt. So read this book if you haven't. The next prompt is new release you haven't read yet, but want to. Ooh. Okay. I know Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have seen people's reading vlogs, and yes, absolutely sign me up. I want to read it. Obviously, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid, so yes, I do want to read that. Ooh, what else? Great Big Beautiful World by Emily Henry. I know that her books are not my favorite, but at this point, I'm just gonna read them all, you know? We're just gonna read them all. And then I think it's already out yet, or it's coming out pretty soon, but The Survivor Wants to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I also want to read that. And yes, third time will be the charm. And hopefully, like, I want to read it because I'm just immersed in this They Both Die at the End world, and I want to see if the survivor does in fact die at the end, because why not, Adam Silvera? Stab me in the heart, crush it, and smash it with your feet. Why don't you? That's not a saying. Anyway, moving on. I think those are the 3 books that I want to read. I think if they're not already out yet, they will be out soon. Ooh, I also, another new release that I haven't read, but I do want to, and I'm going to at some point, hopefully in this year, but Watch Me by Tahereh Mafi. Shut up, fireworks. I want to reread the Shatter Me series. I reread Shatter Me, and I want to continue the series and finish so that I can read Watch Me, because look how gorgeous this book is, first of all. You probably can't even see it, but I know it's like a continuation of the story / it's someone we see in the books who is now grown up. I don't know much else because I try to go into my books blind, but I have seen other people talk about this book and they said it's not just a money grab, it's actually really good. So I do want to read it at some point. Okay, next prompt. Some of these will be quick because I love to yap about books, but there's only so much I can say. Ooh, most anticipated release for the rest of the year. So I'm going to assume hasn't come out yet. Oh my goodness. Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I think it comes out in September, and it's set in the same universe as Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, and I loved Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. Like, it was just such a magical world to be in, and I'm kind of sad that it was only 2 books, so I'm really excited to get back into that universe and kind of learn more about the magic. And I think it's more like behind the scenes as opposed to, you know, our two main characters. So yeah, Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I'm excited to get into that. Okay, biggest disappointment of the year so far. My biggest disappointment so far, genuinely, that meme, if I could give you a 0, I would, but I can't, so I give you a 1.
It is so bad, I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible. So I give you a 1.
Applies to this book. Like, genuinely, I read Throttled, which is book 1 in the Dirty Air series, and I absolutely loved it. Ate it up so fast, and I was so excited. Shut up, fireworks. I was so excited to get into the next book that I think I personally just set my expectations up way too high, and I should have like brought them back down to earth, you know, because after reading book 1, I genuinely was like, this is so good. I think I gave it like a 4.5 stars, maybe 4.75. And I was ready to just continue the world and just be obsessed with the F1 racing and the like sweet, mushy boys who pretend to be dicks, but are actually big sweethearts in I hate giving negative reviews because obviously you're not going to like every book that every author writes, clearly. But I hate when I love one book by an author and hate another by the same author. Like, I don't understand it. It makes my brain hurt because I'm like, what do you mean I am giving your one book 4 or 5 stars and I'm giving this one a 0 or a 1? Let's just say when someone is friend zoned and they proceed to harass the other person and say, you should just give in to our chemistry and you should just, you know, admit you like me and you should just, you know, I can't with the toxic. I can't. And this book, like, I talk about this in my June reading recap, so honestly, watch that video. But this was the biggest disappointment. Genuinely 0 stars. If I could give a book 0 stars, I will probably unhaul it from my bookshelves because I really did not like it. Anyway, next prompt. Biggest surprise of the year so far. I was excited for this because oh my goodness, come on. I randomly found An Ember in the Ashes at a thrift store last year, and I was like, sure, I'll pick it up. It looks cool. And then proceeded to not read it all of last year. And then here we are in 2025, and I'm so glad that this universe exists. It's a completed quartet. All of these books but one are 5 stars. The only book that I rated, I think, a 4.5 star was the second book, and honestly, I don't even remember why. Because all these books are fantastic, absolutely amazing. Let me tell you what it is about. An Ember in the Ashes is book 1. This book follows Laia, who at the very beginning of this book, her brother gets arrested for treason. He's her only family that she has, and she is like, I don't understand. So she sneaks into the Empire, I guess, sneaks in as a slave so that she can figure out how to save her brother. And it also follows Elias, who is like one of the best soldiers in the Empire. He is like up there. He is very good at what he does, but secretly he absolutely hates it and he wants to get out. So they meet, their fates are intertwined, of course, because it's a fantasy book, and that is all I'm gonna say because anything more that I say about the rest of the series just spoils it. So I read book 1 of this and loved it, like ate it up so fast. I think I read a couple books in between, but once I started the rest of the series, I read them all back to back to back, basically, and I love them all. Like, oh my goodness. I kind of was just like, well, if it's good, it's good. If it's not good, then whatever. Literally after reading An Ember in the Ashes, I had to purchase the rest of the books because I was like, I need to get back into this universe right away. You know, it was so good. I think I finished this entire series in under a week. Like, I started and finished them in under a week, I think. And that's amazing. Like, I have never read a full series that quickly. I always drag my feet about it because why wouldn't I? But it's so good. Saba Tahereh, whatever magic you put in this, you know, when Okay. I feel like at this point, everyone has heard of ACOTAR or even Throne of Glass or whatever other super big fantasy series are. You know, when you get into a world that everyone's raving about that you're gonna love, and just like ACOTAR, you're reading the first book and you're dragging your feet and you're like, is everyone lying to me? You do not get that with this. Okay, you start an Ember in the Ashes and you just like, you want to keep going, and Ember in the Ashes does not drag on. In fact, I think book 2 is what dragged on a little bit in the beginning, but like you just fly through. The magic is so intricate and beautiful. The characters are so well written. The ending of this, like this, A Sky Beyond the Storm, the final book in the series, wraps the story up so nicely. Like, all my questions are answered. I love the ending that the characters get. I'm gonna cry. Like, this series is so good. New favorite series of the entire year. And let me tell you, I started off the year with Crescent City and I was like, this is my favorite series of the entire year. No, I mean, still yes, like obviously I loved it, but like this young adult, like very minimal spice, but so good. The world is so good, and I am so glad that I finally read it, and I want to reread these books. I will not right now because I need to reread Shadow Me. But I'm just so excited for a completed quartet that just is so beautiful and amazing, and like the characters are so well rounded. It is amazing. You should, yes, read these books. Absolutely yes. Okay, next up, newest favorite author, debut or new to you. Okay, obviously I have to say, since this was my first book, oh my goodness, come on. Obviously I have to say, since this was the first book that I read of this author, of Tahereh, and I ended up finishing the rest of the series, like obviously it has to be Tahereh. I genuinely, I had no expectations going into this book, and everything, like all of my no expectations were blown out of the water and then some. Like this, it was so good. I'm so glad, like I said, that I finally read this, and I would say Tahereh, new to me, and I can't wait to read everything else that this author has written. I also have to say, and I'm pretty sure this author has multiple aliases, and I think they passed away, but St. Abbey, the fireworks are going off like at the perfect time. If you know, you know, with the Mind F series, but yes to St. Abbey. I would say, because I didn't realize that this author had multiple pen names, so now I need to figure out the other pen names and read the other books. This is also one of the first like darker books that I've read. Like, I've obviously read thrillers, but this was a little darker than that. You know, it's a little darker than that, let's say that. But the Mind F series, yeah, read this if you haven't. This is all 5 little novellas in one. All 5 of them are available on Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, St. Abbey is another new favorite author, and I need to find the other aliases so I can read the other books as well. Next up, newest fictional crush. Okay. I had to think about this before even starting the video, because I was like, who is my newest fictional crush? Because honestly, like, I will read a book, I will love these characters, and then promptly forget everything about them, including their name. So I was going back on my list of books that I have read, and I was like, interesting. And then I remembered when I read A Long Time Coming, I remember when I read this book earlier in the year, I was like, hold on. Breaker, he's a Supernatural fan. I'm a Supernatural fan. And so is Leah, by the way. She's also a Supernatural fan. Like, they literally met and they were talking about how they were... Listen, I think Breaker was my newer favorite fictional crush because, number 1, a man who loves Supernatural, love that. Number 2, he's like the ride or die best friend. Does that make sense? So this book, sorry, I should tell you what this book is about. This book follows best friends from college, Breaker, Kane, and Leah. If you haven't read the rest of the series, this series follows the Kane brothers, who are super wealthy, and each brother has their book. This was my favorite book in the entire series. A Not So Me Cute, So Not Meant to Be, and In a Long Time Coming, those books. But this is my favorite in the series. So Breaker has been best friends with Leah since college. When they met, there's nerds, they do their Scrabble nerd thing, they geek out over Supernatural. I love it. Anyway, Leah's getting married, and she is marrying into a very difficult family. Let's put it that way. So she enlists her obviously best man, or like man of honor, who is Breaker, her best friend, to do all the like bridal things with her. And like he goes along with it because obviously they're best friends and it's amazing and it's beautiful and they realize they love each other. Yes, a long time coming. Anyway, but he's just like, he is ridiculously hot. He is so sweet. He listens to her. He comes to her and helps her out. Also, they're neighbors, by the way. They're neighbors, and they like have this knock thing they do before they go to sleep. And it's just like, wait, hold on. There's so many cute parts of this book that I was just like, oh my goodness. I understand now when people say, you're my favorite person. Because like I get it, girl. I get it. He's so cute. Like, he is adorable. And I just listen, I love a like nice, sweet billionaire, because they're billionaires and they have ridiculous amounts of money. And I love the billionaire trope, but not the dick billionaire. I love the sweet billionaire. I love the one who's gonna like come to your I'm gonna stop talking. But like Breaker Kane, yeah. I remember when I finished this book, I was like, girl, I get it. Get it, girl, because I get it. Anyway, moving on. Newest favorite character. Ooh. Can my favorite crush be also my favorite character? Just kidding. No, I think in terms of favorite characters, because obviously this was my favorite book, I think Dani Brown was probably my favorite character. She is hilarious, by the way. She is so funny. So is Zaf, by the way. Zaf is so hilarious. They're she's trying to seduce him, and he's like, no, I'm a romantic. You know, he's the type who reads romance books. Like, yeah. And so she's just there like, what have I gotten myself into? You know? Well, obviously she's like going with their fake, there's fake dating in this book, and she's like going with their fake dating plan because she cares about him and he's doing it for this business he's doing that he needs publicity from, and he wants to save the kids and blah blah blah. And she's like, that's so sweet. Anyway, the moral of the story is I think Dani Brown is my favorite character. I see a lot of myself in her in the obvious ways, but also like in the subtle ways. Like, I aspire to be someone who knows what she wants and goes after it, and I think Danica Brown just like brings that out in me. And also, I just love this book and I love her so much. Yeah. Next prompt. I feel like I've been yapping for too long. Oh my goodness. A book that made you cry. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody, especially with the cover of this book being what it is, that this book made me cry. I kid you not. My friend Jenna in my book club read this book, came back to book club, and she's like, here's a picture of me. I was sobbing. And I'm like, girl, it can't be that bad, even though I have heard everyone say it's that bad. That's sad. And genuinely, I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I was listening to this book and I had to like stop. I think I was like doing the dishes or something, or maybe putting away laundry. And I literally had to stop, sit down, pick up this book and like immersive read it, because I genuinely was like, whoa. Anyway, so this book follows 4 college friends kind of like sporadically in their lives, but it mainly follows Jude, who I'm literally gonna start crying. Let's just put the book right here so you don't see. But it mainly follows Jude, who anything bad that you think could happen to somebody has happened to him, and then some. Like, you think you've read the worst of it, and then there's more, you know? And it's just, I think I said these exact words, but there was a chapter in this book that when I started reading it, it was told from another character's perspective, and I genuinely was like, fuck, I know what's gonna happen. I think I'm gonna stop talking about it because I'm not ready to cry. It's literally the 4th of July and there's fireworks going on outside. I don't think I'm ready for that. But yeah. To this day, I read this book in March, I think. I still can't give it a rating because do I think it deserves like infinity stars? Yes. But were there things that pissed me off so much that I'm like, no, I can't give it a rating. I can't. But yes, everyone should read this book because yes. Okay, put it right back. Whew. Okay, next prompt. A book that made you happy. Okay. Okay. This is gonna be the last time I talk about it, I promise. But this book was just hilarious. Dani is so funny. Zaf is so funny. Her siblings are so funny. Like how they pick on each other. Three sisters. They gotta pick on each other, and it's amazing because I love it. I love it. But a book that made me happy. This book, which is why it's my new favorite book of the entire year, I think. And that's saying something because I have loved some pretty darn good fantasy books. And Ember in the Ashes, probably my favorite series so far. But yeah, take a hint, Dani Brown. This book made me laugh out loud, and it was so good, and I am so glad. It made me so happy. So glad that I read this finally. Yeah. Okay. Next prompt. Ooh, the most beautiful book that I've bought or received. Okay, I have bought 2 like special edition books. Obviously, they're stunning. Like, can we please talk about, like, hello? I think this is just like the basic special edition of this book, but all my love, Evelyn. Okay, I freaking love this book. First of all, this is my favorite book of 2023. Yeah, I stand by that still. I want to reread it. I just have too many books on my TBR, but it's so stunning. I want special editions of all of my favorite books. Yeah, but stunning. This book is stunning. I also have to talk about, like, excuse me. Again, I feel like I just need to like buy all the special editions of all my favorite books because this brings me so much joy. This book wasn't even a 5-star read for me. I think it was a 4.75 read, but like still very good, obviously. But like this cover, I just can't. I literally just can't. Love in Other Words. I can't believe I didn't read this book until 2025. I feel like I should have read this before, you know? And I'm kind of sad that I didn't because I've been missing out on like this beauty. I know this came out in 2025, but like, it's so stunning. Anyway, Christina Lauren, Love in Other Words. Okay, last prompt. Whew. What books do you need to read before the end of the year? Okay, there's a couple that I wrote down, but for sure, I'm going to say Mother of Death and Dawn. I have read Daughter of No Worlds and Children of Fallen Gods, and I can't wait to read this book. I think I want to read this in July, but also I'm trying to read more romance books. I don't know. I'm trying to read just more light-hearted and romance books in the month of July. But also, like, I have been thinking, when you've been thinking about a book for a long time, like the way Children of Fallen Gods ended, I've been thinking about it because I'm like, I need to know how the story ends. So I think I need to read this, like, sooner rather than later. But also, just look how fucking stunning this book is. And I can't find Children of Fallen Gods anywhere. And people who are reselling it for like $200, and I'm just like, oh, I just want the complete trilogy, please. So if anyone has a copy of Children of Fallen Gods and would like to get it off your hands, I know that it's rare now because it's an out-of-print book, but if you just want to be nice to me and give it to me, I will buy it from you, but not for $200. Anyway, but I want to read this book for the end of the year. I mentioned this already as well, but I also want to read Watch Me by Tahereh Mafi, which means I also need to reread the Shatter Me series, which I do plan to do, but, you know, again, I've been reading more romance books, which is fine, but I also want to read this by the end of the year. Ugh. I've also mentioned this in many other videos, but the Throne of Glass series, I literally still have it in its box because I'm like, these books are heavy, first of all, but it just makes it easier to transport because I've rearranged my shelves quite a few times and I just move it around in the box. But I want to read this series before the end of the year. I feel like I'm going to read it closer to fall and winter though, which that's fine, but definitely a set of 8 books that I want to read before the year ends, or at least start before the year ends. Does that make sense? But I have a feeling I'm going to start it and not want to stop. With the way everyone talks about it, I feel like I'm going to start it and not stop. So I want to read these by the end of the year. I read Children of Blood and Bone already, so I want to continue the series and read Children of Virtue and Vengeance, as well as Children of Anguish and Anarchy. I want to read that by the end of the year as well. I want to read Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan before the year ends. I read Before I Let Go and This Could Be Us. Love both of those books, so I do want to get into this probably in July. I think think I want to read this in July. A couple books that I don't own, but I want to read The Charlie Method by L. Kennedy before the year ends. I loved The Dixon Rule and I loved The Graham Effect. So I feel like I'm going to love The Charlie Method. So I want to read that before the year end. And then I want to read Rebel Witch, which is book 2 of The Crimson Moth. Duet. I have Heartless Hunter up there. I'm not going to reach up to get it, but I want to read Rebel Witch before the year ends. But whew, those are the books that I have read / I'm looking forward to reading before the year ends. I'm so excited that this is a thing that people do on the internet and just post about their favorite books that they've been reading so far and what they're looking forward to reading, because I'm getting a lot of TBR ideas from books that other people have read. Because yes, I do love to add more books to my TBR, even though I literally have over 400 books on my physical TBR. That's besides the point, okay? That is just completely besides the point. But I love watching these videos and I love to hear what other people are reading and what they're excited to read. So I'm curious to know what your responses are to these tags are. You can leave it in the comments below. But yeah, I'm just so excited. Happy reading, everyone. Happy remainder of 2025, because what do you mean we are already in July? Hello? This year is flying by way too fast and I needed to just slow down like a smidge, a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day here on this corner of the internet. And yeah, I appreciate you watching and I will see you in my next one. Bye.